Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. On this podcast, Lane Frank, we're now in episode 243. So 243 episodes through. Let's break it open with the first episode of 2026 by diving into the NFL playoffs, the college football playoff semifinals, college basketball, ton to go over there, and the NBA. A few other things we'll go over in this action-packed episode 243. Happy New Year, and let's hop into it. Let's start out episode 243, how we always do, with our headlines and then the NBA. You know, not too much news in the NBA. We're going through the season, but Trae Young did request a trade, and it's pretty significant because Trae Young's timeline has been very weird, let's say, with the Atlanta Hawks. Gets picked number 5, has a slow start to his rookie year, really picks it up at the end of the year and finishes second in Rookie of the Year voting. Has his head coach, Lloyd Pierce, fired, actually, and Nate McMillan steps in that 2020-2021 season, and they make it all the way to the conference finals. I mean, they won 2 series, it was electric, and they go to 6 games against the Milwaukee Bucks. You think the sky's the limit from there, but they kind of just plateaued after that. They went after DeJounte Murray, which didn't really make sense to me, another point guard, a guy who kind of plays the opposite of Trae Young, but still, it's a point guard, which isn't going to really help, so they didn't really mesh well together. They get rid of DeJounte Murray, they got rid of Nate McMillan, Quinn Snyder and Trae Young just haven't worked well together, and this is a move where after what has been 7 years, Trae Young in Atlanta looks like he'll be moving on to a new team in the very near future. Trae Young going to be out of Atlanta, trade request in effect. Next thing in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder are in a huge slump right now. It's not just San Antonio Spurs who are their kryptonite. They are 4-5 since Jalen Williams came back. Not saying he's the reason why they're losing because they won a championship with him last year, but certainly a thing to look out for right there. Oklahoma City Thunder are not going to be the 73-9 Golden State Warriors or the 72-10 Chicago Bulls. Like at one point when they were 24-1, we thought they could. But Oklahoma City Thunder falling off a little bit, it seems. Another team falling off in the NBA is, unfortunately, my New York Knicks, just playing terrible to start the new year. I don't even know if they've won a game to start the new year, but it still has been a good season for the Knicks. Mike Brown, I have full trust in him to get this team going for the second half of the NBA season. The Golden State Warriors are in the dog days right now. They have the championships, they have the glory, and they've been through rough patches before. But I don't know if we've ever seen one this rough to where it might be on the brink of Steve Kerr getting fired. Now, they had terrible seasons under Steve Kerr. You go back to the season where they picked number 2 in the draft. Also the season after that, where they made the play-in and lost. But the next year, they won the championship. And you knew that was going to happen at some point because they were just unhealthy those years. Steph Curry had a broken wrist. Klay Thompson had a broken leg. It was just a lot of, and torn Achilles as well, it was just a lot of moving parts for those guys and for that team at that time to where you didn't think that it'd be the end of their dynasty, end of their era. But right now, you're really starting to think, this is where they are right now, the dog days of the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, we don't know how much longer he'll be in the NBA for. And for Steve Kerr, in his time with the Warriors, I don't know how long he'll be there if Steph Curry isn't there to save him anymore. In the NFL, we have 7 coaching jobs open right now, and we've got the playoffs this week. So I'm going to talk about those 7 jobs later and who I think will fit them best. And we're going to do Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day, picking those wildcard games coming up next. Last thing in MLB for the headlines, the Las Vegas Athletics didn't get that trademark, so they will no longer be the Las Vegas Athletics, it seems. Maybe the Las Vegas A's? I don't know. But Las Vegas Athletics, they moved this team all the way to Las Vegas from Oakland and not even get the trademark in order. Pathetic, in my opinion. But that's about for the headlines, everybody. Still more to come on episode 243. Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day Playoff Edition. Let's hop into it. Rams versus the Panthers. It's going to be a great game. And the Rams actually lost to the Panthers earlier this year. Matthew Stafford was the MVP favorite at that time, and he played a horrible game against his Panthers defense. But I think he bounces back. Let's go with the Rams over the Panthers. Bryce Young and Dave Canales. It's a great accomplishment to be here, get your participation award, and get out of there. Let's go Rams. Statistically and historically, a very good playoff team under Sean McVay. Rams over the Panthers. Packers versus the Bears. 2 of the best games all year, in my opinion. I think were Green Bay versus Chicago. That first game, Keyshawn Nixon gets interception in a low-scoring game in the red zone to close that game out. And then the second game, Cairo Santos gets an onside kick. Then they go to overtime, and DJ Moore catches a 50-yard touchdown to win that game. Might have been the game of the year in the NFL, at least ending of the year. But that was just Malik Willis at quarterback. I think they benched so many guys last week, Green Bay, to where they can be healthy. But none of that matters. I'm still taking Chicago in this one. Matt LaFleur had his master plan to bench everybody last week against Minnesota to keep them all healthy, but it's not going to pay off here. I think Chicago's a really good team. Let's go Chicago. The Bears, that running game over the Green Bay Packers. Bills versus the Jaguars. Jaguars had a great year, 13-4, just a year after picking number 2 in the draft, number 5 moving up to number 2. But James Gladstone, their GM, and Liam Cohen, their head coach, just did a great job with rebuilding this team. And it's been incredible the run they've been on. But I think for Buffalo, it is a treat to go down to that Florida Heat at this time of year and get away from Buffalo. And the Bills do come away with a victory. Bills over the Jaguars. 49ers versus the Eagles. A conference championship rematch from 2023. Brock Purdy gets a real crack at Philadelphia this time after dislocating or tearing his elbow in that conference championship game 2 years ago, where he didn't really get to play that game to the best of his ability. And I think he does in this one. 49ers over the Eagles. I think the 49ers just been playing good football as of late. I know they've lost a few as well, but Kyle Shanahan gets the job done. He wants that Super Bowl. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but I'm saying this is a good step towards it. 49ers over the Eagles. Chargers versus the Patriots. We actually had this playoff game back in 2018 up in Foxborough when Phillip Rivers was still the quarterback of the Chargers. But I think it's a different, obviously, time for both teams. Drake May, New England, and Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert in LA. And I like the Chargers. I do. One thing the Chargers are really bad at, of course, is their offensive line. One thing the Patriots are really bad at is their front seven. I think this is a great matchup for the Chargers to where your weakness won't be exposed. And let's go with the Chargers over the Patriots. I just think Justin Herbert and Jesse Minter are going to have great games. Jesse Minter as a coach, as the defense coordinator, and Justin Herbert throwing the ball as the quarterback. So Chargers over the Patriots. Texans versus the Steelers to close it out right here. Our playoffs. Texans won the division. It was surprising. They had a great end to the year. D'Amico Ryans did a great job. Nick Caley, their offense coordinator, saved himself his job. CJ Stroud played some good football after Davis Mills won them a few games in there. Pittsburgh, they've kind of had a weird thing at it. They've had a great defense all year long, but the offense just really hasn't done much. And it's shown in these low-scoring games that they still win, but they're low-scoring. I think we get that again here. I think it's a low-scoring game, but I'm going to go with the Steelers, actually, in that low-scoring game. They find a way to win. Heinz Field, or Acrisure Stadium, I should say, formerly Heinz Field, at home for Pittsburgh. They get the win over the Texans to move on to the divisional round. And that's about Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. Let's go with the first top 5 of the year, being predictions for 2026 in sports. My top 5 sports predictions that will happen in 2026. Starting out with an honorable mention that Michigan basketball will win the national championship. Go Blue. It's just too good of a team. They blow out everybody. And when they get tested, because they get tested like they did against TCU, like they did against Penn State, and like they did against Wake Forest, they still come out victorious. And when they play top 10 teams, they don't just beat them, they kill them. So let's go Blue. Michigan is going to win the national championship and cutting down the nets in Indianapolis, April. Next one, number 5, the real top 5 of the nitty-gritty of this list. The Bills win the Super Bowl. I think the Bills are a great team. It is finally Josh Allen's year, and he gets it done. Number 4, said it before the season, I have to stick with it. The Knicks somehow find a way to win the NBA championship. Let's go Knicks, winning the NBA Finals and getting a championship. Number 3, the Dodgers three-peat. I think it happens. I think David Roberts is a great manager, best manager in the MLB. I think this roster has stayed intact the whole entire offseason. They got Edwin Diaz. Rookie Saki's going to be even better. Dodgers, number 3, they three-peat, and they win another World Series in 2026. Number 2, this is a fun one. Yannick Sinner wins all 4 Grand Slams this year. He takes Australia this month. He takes the French Open in June. He takes Wimbledon in July, and he wins the U.S. Open in September. Yannick Sinner does something that hasn't been done in years, and only a few have ever done in history, winning all 4 Grand Slams in 1 year, the Golden Slam, as they call it, for Yannick Sinner. That's number 2. And number 1, the best hot take I've got for you, top 5 for the predictions going to 2026, is that England will win the World Cup. Yes, England will win the World Cup. I think it's too talented of a roster. We've seen it in the past few years, past few World Cups, where they've had chances. That semifinal against France was a crusher, and they lost that match. But I think they get it done right here. Or should I say quarterfinal against France, where Harry Kane missed that penalty kick. But you have a new manager. You have great players like Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka. Let's go. England wins the World Cup in 2026 in the Meadowlands. That's about for top 5 predictions heading into 2026. Leave yours in the comments. Now, did you know, this week's Did You Know is, did you know one time in the MLB, there was a 3'7" midget who had an at-bat named Eddie Gaudel, and he actually drew a walk in his first ever MLB at-bat. I think the MLB banned him from ever playing again after that due to safety issues. A 3'7" midget drew an on-base before some other guys in MLB ever have. Did you know that? Leave that in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. Alright, so this segment's mostly going to be for the people in El Paso, Texas, my hometown, the UTEP football fans, and even if you watch the show, you saw Malachi Nelson, the quarterback who I kind of helped get here as I'm on the NL advisory board, be on this episode, or episode like this, episode 201, I want to say, about a year ago, and there was a lot of hype for him to be in the program, and obviously he's a great person, and I think he did some good things at UTEP. He won the starting job, and unfortunately, he did get benched, and things went haywire. Today he entered the transfer portal, and I'm getting a little bit of heat for it. But here's my thing to say to the UTEP fans who are taking it out on me and, really upset about whether Malachi Nelson played this year, upset at this UTEP staff, upset at him for no reason. He was probably the most hyped up player to ever come to UTEP because I think he was the first 5-star in history, whether it was transfer portal or recruiting, to ever come here. He was a very high profile player, and everybody at the time was ecstatic about it, and you can't prove that any other way. There was a quarterback here at the time that people maybe said should have started over him, but nobody was thinking that at the time. Everybody thought that Malachi Nelson was going to be the starting quarterback, which he was. And, things go the wrong way in the system and the way people play and the way schedules are mashed up. But I think just a little too much heat for it. Brought a lot of great press to UTEP, in my opinion. At the end of the day, any press is good press for a football team, and UTEP especially. There was a New York Times article about Malachi Nelson's ride to UTEP. There was ESPN articles about it, the Athletic articles about it. It brought a lot of attention to the UTEP football program, which can only do the better for this Miners football program. So that's my thoughts on it as an advisory board member, as a UTEP fan, as a person, just giving you my insight on what happened there. That's about for the Spotlight this week. Let's go through the NFL coaching carousel because we've got a lot of big-time names and a lot of big-time teams to go through. Let's start with Baltimore, the Ravens. Ravens fired John Harbaugh, and they made a big mistake a few years ago by not showing him the door sooner so they could hire Mike Macdonald, who's probably going to be Coach of the Year for the 14-3 Seattle Seahawks because he was their defensive coordinator after going from Michigan, D.C. to Ravens, D.C. And of course, he's a top 5 head coach in the NFL now. I think they try to replicate something like that, and they hired Jesse Minter, who used to be a defensive assistant for the Ravens, became the Michigan defense coordinator, now the Chargers defense coordinator. He's going to be a head coach at some point in this cycle. Why not be for you, Baltimore? He's a history there. Jesse Minter goes over to the Baltimore Ravens, the best defensive mind in the NFL. The New York Giants, my favorite team in the NFL. I'm going to go with John Harbaugh. It's too good of an opportunity for him and for the team. It works perfectly with Jackson Dart. John Harbaugh is the best name out there, and I think it'll work great. John Harbaugh needed a reset, and so did the Ravens, but the Giants could desperately use a big name hire. What do you think of the Giants? It's a great franchise, but I thought about this the other day. They don't ever make splash hires. After Tom Coughlin, it was Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo, nobody knew who that was at the time. Then it was Pat Shurmur, who had failed as a head coach before, and he got shown the door right away. Then it was Joe Judge, which was obviously a terrible experiment. Then it was Brian Dable, which fell through. I might even be forgetting somebody in there. But none of these names worked out in a good way. So I think they finally make a splash hire. And they go for it. The Super Bowl winning head coach, John Harbaugh. The Cleveland Browns hire Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. He came second in the Michigan head coaching race to Kyle Whittingham. He's been a head coach before. He's one of the best offensive minds in football, and he's a history in this division in Cleveland. Todd Monken would do wonders for that quarterback room, for that offense, for that future in Cleveland. Arizona Cardinals, who are they going to hire? Why not go with Philip Rivers? Let's have some fun with it. I think Philip Rivers is a great coach. Great offensive mind. He's done a great job with his high school program in Alabama. Let's take it to the biggest stage now. And a lot of things have not worked out for Arizona. They're always making a hire that seems safe outside the Cliff Kingsbury one. Well, this one, let's go Wild again. It worked out for a few years with Cliff. Let's see if it works out again with Philip Rivers as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. What about the Atlanta Falcons? Let's throw another ball out left field. Former offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian. All signs are pointing to Matt Ryan being the new president of operations for the Falcons. Steve Sarkisian was the best offensive coordinator he had in Atlanta. They had a great offense under him. Steve Sarkisian and Texas have landed nobody in the portal. What does that tell me? He's not dedicated right now to this Texas team. He wants to get out of college football and make his way to the NFL. I think the Falcons get a great offensive-minded football mind in Steve Sarkisian, a huge splash in this cycle. What about Tennessee Titans? I saw they were interviewing Jason Garrett, and I'm going to go with Jason Garrett as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I've actually got to sit next to Jason Garrett on the past 2 flights I've had from New York to Dallas on that Monday morning, and he seems like a great guy, and he's a great football coach. He had a rough time in Dallas the past few years. The way it ended there. So let's go Jason Garrett to the Tennessee Titans, everybody. And the last one, the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders just really have had a rough run of these head coaches. When you think of it, you get rid of John Gruden and Rich Bisaccia takes you to the playoff, and you don't rehire him as your head coach. Big mistake. You went with Josh McDaniels, and that obviously was just terrible. So then when Antonio Pierce won a few games for you, you decided not to make that same mistake you did with Bisaccia, and you decided to hire him as your head coach, which obviously didn't work out either. Then Pete Carroll, everybody thought was this big splash hire. Well, that didn't work out either because he's 75 years old. I think you go safe here. You go with Chris Shula from a great football family, the grandson of Don Shula and the Rams defensive coordinator. That's about for my NFL coaching carousel. The semifinal is here for the college football playoff. Ole Miss versus Miami. Indiana versus Oregon. Let's pick Ole Miss versus Miami first in the Fiesta Bowl, and then, of course, we got a great Peach Bowl of Indiana versus Oregon. But starting out with Ole Miss versus Miami. Miami's defense has been incredible. That showed against Texas A&M, where that game probably could have been a blowout if Miami's kicker didn't miss a few kicks in there and that offense got going a little bit sooner. And of course, there's a road game in Kyle Field. Okay, that could have been a blowout. Then the Ohio State game, you only give up 10 points. You hold one of the best offenses in the country to basically nothing, and you score on a good, great defense in Ohio State. For Ole Miss's side of things, well, you avenge your best loss. You avenge your only loss against Georgia, and you beat them. And this is officially the Pete Golding era. You got lucky. You got a tune-up game in Game 1 against Tulane, and then you got a great win against Georgia, a comeback victory, and hooray! We're all good. Seems like the Pete Golding era is on fire, and it's going to be the same level of success as the Lane Kiffin era. Let me stop you right there. I saw this thing with Sharon Moore and the Michigan Wolverines just 2 seasons ago. Lane Kiffin might be gone. Jim Harbaugh was gone too on suspension. Lane Kiffin's left the team, but it's the same staff and it's the same exact players. You just need to control the thing right there. Sharon Moore was able to beat Penn State on the road and able to beat Ohio State at home, a top 5 Ohio State team, and that got him the head coaching job at Michigan. We all know how that went, where it fell off a complete cliff. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen for Pete Golding, but I'm not saying he's going to attain the same level of success as Lane Kiffin, and I'd like to give some praise to Lane Kiffin here and not just Pete Golding for this job they've done these past 2 games. And for that reason, I'm going to take Miami football to win this game. Something we didn't expect, where Mario Cristobal faced a lot of criticism the past few years. 2022 was a terrible year for Miami football. 2023 might have been worse, especially the coaching decisions by Cristobal. 2024, well, you can blame him all you want for not having a good enough defense, and that's why they finished 10-2. What he did, he bolstered up that defense, and Ruben Bain Jr. is one of the best players in the country. This is a great defense, and you have great players on offense. I think Miami just gets the job done. Miami over Ole Miss to make it to the national championship game in their home stadium next Monday. Now for the next game, Indiana versus Oregon, a rematch of this game in Eugene, all the way back second weekend in October, where the Hoosiers came away with the upset. Now, before the college football playoff, I picked Oregon to win this game, but I also picked Georgia to win the whole thing. So maybe I'll change my prediction right here because I'm already out on this college ball playoff mania in these predictions. Fernando Mendoza did a great job in that Rose Bowl. He didn't do too much. He controlled the game, and he got the job done. Now, if you look at the past few national championship quarterbacks that have won the national championship, well, let's look at it. Will Howard, he wasn't exactly a game general. He was a game manager, and he got the job done, and he won that game for them. J.J. McCarthy, same thing. Just made some good plays at the right time. He was a top 5 quarterback in college football, won them that game, wasn't necessarily number 1 and tried to do too much around that field. When I look at Fernando Mendoza, I see the same thing. He's a Heisman winner, but most years he isn't. But still, he does enough. He has a great offensive line. He's a great running backs. And of course, he is the best coach right now in college football in Curt Cignetti. So for Dan Lanning, you're young. You've got a good team. You got Dante Moore potentially coming back next year, and it's time to reload. Because yes, this is a great year, but I think it comes short of what you want to be. And Indiana advances to the national championship versus Miami, just like we all thought before the season. Indiana versus Miami, a national championship will be set next Monday. Now, the best for last question of the day. This week's question of the day is, should college football and college athletes be held to their NIL contracts to where they cannot transfer? We saw a situation this week with Damon Williams Jr. signing a $4 million contract with Washington, and then a day later, entering the portal with a do not contact tag, which is beyond me because that's obviously tampering at that point. Should we hold these players accountable, and should they have to fulfill their deal, their contract with their school? Leave your answer in the comments. That's about for question day this week. That's about for Schoolyard Sports Lane Frank, episode 243. Happy New Year. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content world. Be back here next week, episode 244. Stay tuned.